Year 10. This is a quick film explaining how the subtitles that I've presented to you in your assessment task relates to the Bill Viola Google slide presentation that I've shown you in class. Now, the first thing I've asked you to present is the title. Basically, this is the orientation, so the beginning, the introduction to the audience about the who, what, when, and why about the artist in a very general sense. So in this particular page or this particular slide, I've just got the basics here of the name of the artist and the artwork. In this particular page, then I have a picture of the artwork again, but this time I have a link here of the actual artwork itself so that the audience can familiarize themselves with what it is that we will be analyzing further in this particular slide show presentation. And then this particular slide just talks about Bill Viola's concepts in the most general sense. This really sets a very good backdrop to the more specific information that I'll be teasing out in the remainder of the slide when I specifically look at the raft of the Medusa. And then here at the bottom I have a few links to some other examples of his work. So then the next subtitle that I asked you to examine is conceptual challenges. And artist influences. In this particular slide, I have here a YouTube clip link that tells you why Bill Viola created his artworks, or this particular artwork in the first place. So that definite links specifically to artist's influence. Then on this particular page, I'd really discuss about his conceptual challenges for the specific artwork that we are analyzing. So in this case, the raft. Here I really set the backdrop and understanding of, who or what he has appropriated in the past. So what kind of, grand artworks, historical artworks he's referencing in his new artwork, The Raft. So the fact that he's kind of using the Raft of the Medusa as a leverage to, or as you could say, the introduction to his own artwork for the contemporary society, really shows how, his artwork isn't just about look at what you see and just look and appreciate. It's more about you need to have knowledge to understand what he's trying to explain to us. And that's how he challenges his audience in that sense. Then we continue with conceptual challenges, and I explain to you what the actual specific meaning is about the artwork overall. So here I discuss what the personal discourse he kind of creates in his artworks and the communal discourse he creates with his artwork as well. And I have two specific images that show you, the before or the beginnings of the film and towards the end to emphasize those points of what I'm trying to say in regards to the discourse that is presented in his artwork. The next thing you need to think about is material challenges. And you can go and, if you discuss the fact that he's using film in general and how that is an innovative kind of use of art materials that hasn't been presented before. I start introducing those very general ideas about how, his use of materials have moved from the traditional fine art materials of, painting, drawing, and so on, and how it's moved more into the 21st century, and how people are challenged by the idea of that, video can be considered art or film can be considered art. But the next thing I really also want to specifically look at is how he challenges how people interact with his artworks. So if we're looking at scale and size and how that in regards, because the film itself and the artwork itself is a material, how the audience are challenged in regards to the discourse, but by the way that the artist has presented their artwork. So think about your artist. Think about the how does the artist present their artworks and where they choose to present their artworks and how that can materially challenge the audience. So if they, is it in public spaces they present their artworks or is it through scale? Those are the kind of things you need to consider. In regards to process and techniques, what I want you to really discuss when you think about process and techniques, I don't want you to only think about how the artist actually physically makes their work, because if you can find that information, that's fantastic, and I applaud you. But some of these artists are very secretive, or it's very hard to find information out there about how the step by steps, how they physically make their artworks. So, what I really want you to start thinking about sometimes is more in a general sense and think about what is the thinking process behind the way that they create the artwork. So, in Bill Viola's case, it's, how he uses the chiaroscuro effect, that spotlight effect, and has how he always has that dull kind of background so that the person becomes the figure in his artworks become like the highlight of the whole and the focus, the focal point of the artwork. And then how sound also relates to his artwork and why sound becomes an important element in his artwork. So if you're doing someone that does film, these are possible ideas. Why do they use black and white? Why do they use lots of people? Why do they use not many people? What is more important, the landscape? Why is it important? Is color important if we're talking about painters? Are we talking about maybe their painting style? Is that important? Is it kind of very disfigured? Or is it very clean? Or is it very fractured? What is the purpose of these different kind of styles and techniques that they actually choose to employ in their artworks?